Hello everyone. This is the 13th part of the story, Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Chapter 93, Avengers. But Bruce did not take notice of what Scarlet Witch was thinking. He was just saying the truth in his opinion. Did we, Hydra, really do something great? At this time, Scarlet Witch asked a question, which drew Bruce's attention and turned his head. Meanwhile, Quicksilver also came to Bruce's side, wanting to hear his view. Although the twins had never come into contact with the outside world, sometimes, they were still suspicious of what Hydra was doing. That was because Hydra was too mysterious in front of them. Before that, they were controlled by Hydra, so they didn't think too much about it. But now, their doubts deepened. And was Hydra really worthy of their loyalty? These were the questions they started asking themselves. And after Bruce heard what they had said, he looked very solemn. Some things can't be asked directly. As for whether the things they are doing are right or not, that depends on you and your own understanding. No one can give you an exact answer. After the twins heard Bruce's words, they seemed to be deep in thought. Bruce, on the other hand, was extremely giddy, as by asking such a question they proved that they had begun to trust him. It shouldn't be much longer until the task to obtain the twins' trust is completed. They had been undergoing Hydra's brainwashing for so many years, but thankfully for Bruce, because of the mind gem, they were at most slightly influenced. This meant that they still had some room for redemption. Otherwise, they wouldn't become Avengers in the future and all of Bruce's efforts would have been for naught. Well, continue your training. Bruce ordered the twins to go and continue their training, putting puzzled looks on their faces by giving them such an order at this time. But regardless of their opinions, they were obedient enough to go away and do as they were told. At this moment, a figure appeared behind Bruce, and surprisingly enough, it was Hydra's leader himself, Baron Strucker. He looked at Bruce and said, "Bruce, follow me." If it wasn't important, Strucker wouldn't come here to look for Bruce. Yet while he knew this, Bruce's face lit up and he flashed a weird smile at the current situation instead. Afterwards, the two of them went inside the base together, and the look on Strucker's face revealed the gloomy nature of the situation. Soon after, they came to a secret room, where almost all of Hydra's senior members were. According to the information we've obtained, the main body of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been disbanded, and Pierce's identity has also been exposed, which he was killed for. Dr. List opened the holographic projection equipment, and on it the most recent information was displayed. After the Hydra members heard those words, a trace of shock and panic appeared on their faces. Pierce is an important figure we planted in S.H.I.E.L.D. How could he die? Damn it, it must be because he was too impatient and wanted to fight against Rogers. Will our secret base be discovered? Everyone present was very nervous. This base they were at now was quite secret, and it would definitely be a big blow to them if the base was discovered. Mr. Bruce, what's your opinion? Baron Strucker looked at Bruce and wanted to seek his advice. Although up to now, Bruce's position in Hydra had not been appointed, his strength was widely recognized among them. I don't think Pierce will divulge where this base is, so there's no need to worry. However, we can't relax. Once they discover our location, they'll summon the Avengers, Bruce said slowly, which made all the people present strongly agree. At present, Hydra did not have the enough strength to fight against the Avengers head-on. But this was not Bruce's problem. In fact, when Bruce saw the twins, Hydra had already become useless to him as an organization. But because he had to develop the plot of Avengers, Age of Ultron, it was necessary to keep acting at least temporarily. But now that the present situation came to be, there was no need. How's the current situation of the twin? Can they fight? Dr. List asked. They were created by him and they were the trump card of Hydra. If the twins could come in handy now, alongside Bruce, they would still have enough power to resist when the Avengers made their move. They're okay now, and there shouldn't be any problem for them to fight against the Avengers. Bruce spoke honestly, which let everyone release a sigh of relief. This was the best news they could hope for, and also the only one they wanted to hear at the moment. Thank you for your hard work, Bruce. Once their training is completed, I will let you join the top management of the organization. Strucker said. Although he still doubted Bruce, it was not the time for him to be creating internal strife. Bruce smiled and didn't say anything. Subsequently, the top members of Hydra continued to discuss how to deal with the Avengers who may possibly appear. But obviously, they no longer paid any more attention to it. Because this secret base was too remote, ordinary agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would find it impossible to locate it. During this time while they were discussing, Bruce walked out of the meeting room. He came to a quiet place and a big smile formed on his face. The time had finally come for him to begin the plot of Avengers: Age of Ultron. Without any hesitation, Bruce walked over to a blind spot of the monitors and then activated his high-level movement ability, making his body immediately disappear on the spot. With his current speed, no monitor in Hydra was able to spot him, let alone recognize him. Soon after, Bruce came to an empty room. His original room was completely isolated, without any signal. Bruce shot out a little electricity and directly cut off the monitoring devices, whereafter he turned on the computer. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. had been almost disbanded, Bruce could still get in touch with Fury and Hill. After sending the address of this base to Fury, Bruce simply left this place. In order not to be discovered by Hydra's people, Bruce deliberately used the power of thunder and lightning, slightly damaging their central system. In the original plot of the movies, S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't manage to find Hydra's base, despite Fury arranging some agents to work towards that direction. But now, Bruce simply gave them the location like that. And after doing that, he went back inside his room, simply waiting for a response from S.H.I.E.L.D. At this time, in the Avenger base, New York. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. had been disbanded, the Avenger base was still there. Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hill and Nick Fury were all here. They were discussing how to deal with the subsequent issues of Hydra. "I didn't expect that Hydra has infiltrated us so deeply," said Nick Fury. He still had some lingering fears regarding that. And no one replied, as this incident was truly too serious. Their main issue was that they didn't know where the secret base of Hydra was. Otherwise, they would have taken action long ago. Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, a message alert sounded from the holographic projection equipment. The message they received was very simple. It was just the coordinates to a location with a title above it. Hydra's secret base. Everyone froze in place. Just now they were talking about this matter, and at this moment the location of the secret base of Hydra had been directly sent here. "We need to check it carefully," said Captain America. This was his natural character, cautious, and he was worried that this message was fake and possibly a trap. "No, I would rather make the mistake than let it go." Nick Fury hated Hydra very much. Moreover, the location sent here just now was highly consistent with the information their agents had gotten before. They must not delay any longer. Fury looked back at Captain America and solemnly said, "Avengers, fall in." Chapter 94, Task. Nick Fury looked very serious now, because beforehand, Pierce had single-handedly almost made the whole of S.H.I.E.L.D. collapse. In fact, if not for what had happened, Fury would never even know that Hydra had already infiltrated them so deeply. S.H.I.E.L.D. had been disbanded, but fortunately, Nick Fury still had his own trusted followers. These people won't be very useful, but at least they could provide assistance to the superheroes. Now they had finally found the base of Hydra, Fury really didn't want to waste any more time. It was their chance to take revenge. "Fury, calm down, we still don't know whether this news is true or false." Captain America had experienced a real war after all, so it was natural for him to be cautious even now. The timing was too coincidental as well. They had just dealt with the matter at hand, and suddenly the location of the most secret base of Hydra had been given to them just like that. This was too big of a coincidence in the captain's eyes, and so he warned Fury to think this over again before he makes his decision. "Before this, my people had already found some clues related to this base. The location from the message fits with what we have found before, so even if this is not their headquarters, we can't miss this chance," said Fury. He had been running S.H.I.E.L.D. for so many years now, and yet suddenly because of Hydra, S.H.I.E.L.D. had fallen apart. Of course he would be mad. "If it's a trap, how will we deal with it?" Captain America asked again. He hated Hydra a lot as well, mostly because of what happened to his best friend and comrade in arms, Bucky. But he thought that they first needed to make a solid plan whilst looking at the overall situation calmly, before taking action. "We have the Avengers," said Nick Fury. He had made up his mind, and nothing the captain said would shake him. "I agree with Fury," Black Widow said. She had been one of the people that had previously seen the information they had on Hydra's secret base, and based on that she thought the news was true. The captain glanced at the people around him, and took a deep breath. Besides him, everyone wanted to take action immediately. "All right then, let's go," he said. Since they couldn't be swayed, he didn't really have an option. After he said that, everyone stood up. They wanted to gather the Avengers together as soon as possible, as this time, Hydra's secret base must fall, no matter the costs. "Is there any news on Bruce?" Black Widow looked at Fury and asked. They knew where each member of the Avengers was, so if they wanted to summon them, it wouldn't take as long as one thought. Bruce's location, on the other hand, was unknown. Pierce had previously given an order to let Bruce carry out a special task. "We haven't heard back from him in a long time though, and I'm worried that Bruce has already been assassinated," Fury said. He had once suspected that Bruce was a member of Hydra, but even after he had later investigated, there was no concrete evidence no matter how deeply he looked into it. Besides that, there seemed to be no relationship between Bruce and Hydra according to Bruce's behavior. With that said, his theory was that Pierce wanted to turn Bruce into a member of Hydra, only to be rejected. And after that, as he didn't want anyone to suspect him, he found an excuse to deal with Bruce. This was the best explanation that he could come up with, and the most feasible as well. As for whether Bruce was really dead or not, he was uncertain. After hearing that, the Black Widow looked worried. She just couldn't believe that Bruce would die like that. But as she thought of Bucky, she got a terrible feeling. "All right. Natasha Romanoff, go carry out your orders," Fury said. At this moment, the most important task was to destroy Hydra's headquarters, and subsequently, everyone went out to carry out their tasks. Some were to summon Iron Man, some Dr. Banner, and some Thor. After the New York War, it was now time for the Avengers to assemble again. At the same time, inside of Hydra's headquarters, Bruce continued to act as usual. During this period of time, he had been training Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, and thanks to that, the two had made great progress. That was especially the case for the Scarlet Witch, as she couldn't get more familiar with the manipulation of origin magic power if she tried. As for Hydra, everything was normal, and all their agents did their usual tasks. They also continued their research on Loki's scepter, an artifact that they had been researching ever since they got it. But because of the Mind Gem, no matter how much resources Hydra invested into this research plan of theirs, they would still not be able to find everything out, as this was cosmic-level energy. Bruce had also previously come into contact with Loki's scepter, however, as he had not been rich or powerful enough to download the Mind Gem at that time, he could only let it go. According to Bruce's inference, if he wanted to successfully download the Mind Gem, he had to be as powerful as a god. After all, the power of the infinite gems was not something to take lightly. Even Thanos had almost been half disabled after making that snap. If he truly wanted to bring out the full power of the infinite gems, first, his body had to be able to handle such powerful energy. At this moment, he was standing next to the training ground, where the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were practicing. They began to act very seriously after their meeting with Bruce, and after getting a deeper understanding of Bruce's personality, they had greatly changed their attitudes toward him. Quicksilver had even begun to regard Bruce as his role model. As Bruce looked at the twins, an idea suddenly emerged in his head. This time, Quicksilver would not be sacrificed. Beep, congratulations, you have obtained the complete trust of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Beep, congratulations, you have completed your task, and will receive 5,000 points of energy value. At this moment, Bruce heard the system's voice in his head, and his eyes lit up. The twins had already believed in him beforehand, but it had not reached the system's requirements. But now that he obtained a truly wondrous reward for his actions. To his complete surprise, the reward he got from completing this task was a whopping 5,000 points of energy value. This amount was almost equivalent to his harvest during the New York War. Although this amount of energy value was not much for him, it was enough for now. More importantly, the battle between the Avengers and Hydra was about to start, and he would obtain a lot of energy value from that as well. Beep, new task has been issued. Host, speed up the birth of Vision. Before Bruce could even get excited, the voice of the system rang out again. And to his delight, it was a new task. Vision was formed by Jarvis, the artificial intelligence of Iron Man. This was also a very powerful superhero, yet there had not been many plots for him in the movies. This task was relatively simple for Bruce, so much so that he didn't even have to do it himself. Now that he got this new task, the most important thing was to speed up Vision's birth, and to hold it in his hands. However, in order to do that, the precondition was related to Loki's scepter, and in regards to this, Bruce already had some plans in mind. Chapter 95, War. As for utilizing the abilities of Loki's scepter, the Scarlet Witch was the key. Her power originated from the Mind Gem, thus she could influence it to an extent. Regarding the matter of Vision and the Scarlet Witch falling in love in the future, Bruce would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. Although Vision would be very powerful, he would still only remain as a chess piece in Bruce's hands. In terms of importance, he could not even compare himself to Scarlet Witch. On another note, if he wanted to create Vision, the first thing he needed to do was create Ultron. With that, Bruce would be the mastermind behind everything, and he would finally control the overall situation. Bang bang! At this moment, a series of explosions sounded out one after another, which made Bruce's eyes turn cold. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who were training, stopped at this moment and seemed a little bewildered. They had lived in the Hydra base for such a long time, but this was the first time that such a thing had happened. The war has finally begun. Bruce looked up at the sky, a hint of a smile appearing on his face. Before this, as he sent the position of the secret Hydra base to the Avengers base, the plot of Marvel's The Avengers also officially began. Mr. Bruce? Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch walked over at this moment, with a trace of doubt and fear on their faces. Before that, they had been training. But after hearing the explosion, they both got a bad feeling. During this time, you two must protect yourself very well. The war has already begun. Pietro, go out and have a look. I have a matter I need to discuss with Wanda. Bruce looked at Quicksilver, and Quicksilver nodded. He trusted Bruce a lot now, to the point that he even began to idolize him. After nodding, he quickly disappeared. At this moment, the Scarlet Witch was standing in front of Bruce with a rosy flush on her face. Mr. Bruce, do you have something you need to tell me? Scarlet Witch had developed a strange affection for Bruce. After all, he was the strongest person she had met, but he was attractive for other reasons as well. Whenever she had stayed alone with Bruce, she found it especially hard to restrain herself. Bruce, of course, could feel the Scarlet Witch's affection. He could see all of this, for he was not an idiot when it came to romance. Then, Bruce took the Scarlet Witch's hand directly, a smile appearing on his face. Wanda, I have something for you to do. The Scarlet Witch, whose hands were held by Bruce, looked even more ruddy. But she still looked firmly at Bruce. Mr. Bruce, I will do anything you say at any cost. Scarlet Witch was truly willing to do anything for Bruce, even at the cost of her own life. Don't worry, I won't put you in danger. Bruce laughed, as a trace of light flashed across his eyes. Next, Bruce told her all the details of her assignment. He explained everything very clearly, including how she could influence Iron Man's mind. Scarlet Witch just listened very carefully. Because this was the first time that Bruce had given her a task, she would finish it no matter what. Mr. Bruce, I will definitely accomplish everything that you have told me. As she spoke, Scarlet Witch threw herself directly into Bruce's arms, not caring about anything else. Bruce was stunned for a moment, but he still wrapped his arms around her. There was no denying that Wanda's figure was quite good and curvy. What's more, she had a special charm, which could attract any man in the world. In particular, she was very open-minded. After receiving Bruce's response, she felt more attached to him and wanted to move even closer to him. A very delicate emotion rose up in Bruce's chest, and it was his first time dealing with it. The Scarlet Witch was very tall, yet she was in Bruce's arms just like this. Fortunately, Bruce was already a person who had lived 2 lives. Coupled with his personality, he was able to remain calm even in such a situation. However, the Scarlet Witch was so attractive that Bruce was afraid of her being in his arms for a longer period of time, lest he lose his cool and do something that would spoil his plans. Alright, let's start according to the plan. At this time, Scarlet Witch was reluctant to separate herself from Bruce's arms. Western people tended to be a lot more open than Eastern people, so she was not too shy anymore. She had picked up what Bruce was thinking from his actions, which made her happy. Buzz! At this moment, a figure appeared beside them. Ahem, Mr. Bruce, Strucker is here. After saying that, Quicksilver pretended as if he had seen nothing. If it were someone else who was holding his sister like this, Quicksilver would bash the guy immediately. But since the person was Bruce, Quicksilver instead found this to be very normal. Besides that, however, another reason was that he could absolutely not defeat Bruce, as proved during their multiple fights. Well, you two can take action now, said Bruce, followed by the Scarlet Witch nodding and leaving alongside Quicksilver. Soon after, Baron Strucker appeared in front of Bruce. Bruce, something's wrong. S.H.I.E.L.D. has somehow discovered our secret base. Damn it, what the hell is going on? His eyes were full of worry. Them being found this early was very bad, as according to their current situation, they were bound to take a massive loss. However, Bruce just looked at Strucker. He knew very clearly what had happened, but he didn't reveal anything out of the ordinary. I see. It's too late to find out how the S.H.I.E.L.D. managed to find us. We need to figure out a way to deal with the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s attack. Bruce looked at Strucker and said. He looked as though everything he had been doing so far was for the sake of Hydra, and this managed to ease the grave expression on Strucker's face, albeit only by a little. At this time, there was no doubt that Bruce was a member of Hydra in his eyes. Strucker had suspected Bruce before, and this made him regret his actions. What do you think we should do now? Strucker asked for Bruce's opinion, while Bruce just chuckled in his heart. Hydra trusts me so much. The base can be lost, but some research results can't be left for S.H.I.E.L.D. to discover. I've already asked the twins to protect them, Bruce said, and Strucker nodded to show his agreement. At this moment, the most important thing was to protect Loki's scepter. Then, the two talked with each other and walked toward the command center of the base. The command center was in a great panic right now, and all members of Hydra looked very anxious. They had lived here for such a long time, that they couldn't believe that they had been found all of a sudden. What's the matter with you guys? Attack, now! After seeing that the members of Hydra didn't take action, Strucker was furious and ordered them to attack quickly. After all, they still had a powerful army. But sir, the opponents are the Avengers. Chapter 96, Thunder. After all, they were the Avengers. Upon mentioning that name, everyone in the command center was immersed in gloom. What only made their mood worse was the monitors displaying the one-man armies that were their opponents sweeping through their actual army. In front of the mighty Avengers, the members of Hydra were so vulnerable. However, nothing could be done about that. The problem wasn't them being weak, it was the Avengers being too powerful. Without even mentioning existences such as Hulk and Thor, even Hawkeye or Captain America could sweep through their armies all by themselves. Almost no one was their opponent, and those fortresses that they were so proud of were destroyed in a flash. On land, the S.H.I.E.L.D. had the so-called Incredible Hulk. No matter how strong the fortress was, it became extremely vulnerable in his hands. In the air, there was Iron Man, who was almost a living, breathing, war machine, all by himself. And then there was Thor, who when it came to fighting against humans from Earth, was unparalleled. Although there were some people in Hydra who had special abilities, they could hardly cause the Avengers any harm. Their defense was like a toy in front of these people, and so was their offense. This was what one would call a stomp, a very ruthless and crushing stomp at that. Seeing this scene, Strucker was extremely enraged. At this time their opponents were not S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, but those superheroes. S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't do this because they were arrogant. After all, even if it was the strongest military force on the planet, they would still have to take a heavy loss if they wanted to break through Hydra's defenses. But that was not the case when it came to the Avengers, a group that was almost invulnerable in the eyes of ordinary people. With that being the case, how was Hydra supposed to fight this battle? In any case, we must retreat to safety for now. Strucker gave a stern order. There was no other way, their current situation was just too devastating for them. After seeing the present situation, Bruce sighed in his mind. They were worthy to be called the Avengers, and their battle against humans was almost like sweeping ants. Hydra was also crushed. In the face of these so-called Avengers, there was no way for them to fight back. The only ones they could rely on was those twins. But they had already been secretly controlled by Bruce. In this battle so far, Hydra had paid a heavy price. Even if they somehow managed to survive their present situation, they couldn't continue being the menace that they were. Mr. Bruce, can you strike now? Strucker's face showed a trace of doubt. At present, in Strucker's eyes, the only one that could help them compete with these Avengers was Bruce. After hearing this, Bruce nodded, of course. After receiving Bruce's response, Strucker finally felt relieved. With Bruce as the main attacker, he sent a few other elites to fight and provide support. No matter what happens, Mr. Bruce must remain safe. After hearing Strucker's words, Bruce smiled, and led the hundreds of members in Hydra to leave the command room. This time, I hope Bruce can help us. Dr. List and Strucker glanced at each other, and now they had only one solution. At the same time, outside Hydra's secret base, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Hulk and Thor attacked at the same time. They were powerful and extremely strong. Not to mention a fortress, even an armored vehicle would be destroyed in mere seconds. This was the power of the Avengers, otherwise the plot of Captain America 3 would not happen in the first place. Stark, how is everything going? Can you enter the base? Captain America asked as he was driving a mountain bike. Dealing with people from Earth was indeed much easier than those Chitauri that they had previously faced. Their goal was not to kill, but to destroy Hydra's base. Only if they managed to destroy Hydra's base would their attack be considered a success. Nothing can be done, they've used superb technology to build a huge defense system. We can't get in. Steel Chenxia said, who was using Jarvis to analyze the vulnerabilities of this defense system. However, the data was too huge and it would take a while. On the other side, all those who had arrived in Hydra came out, and the war continued. Mr. Bruce, what should we do? A leader of the Hydra organization said that they were looking forward to seeing what kind of power Bruce had. The best way out for them was to defeat these Avengers completely. Do you know Thor? Bruce glanced at Thor up and down, with a smile on his face. The members of Hydra couldn't understand what Bruce was saying. Boom! At this moment, the sound of thunder and lightning shook the whole sky. A large amount of dark clouds converged together, invoking a very gloomy feeling in them. At this moment, everyone around the base subconsciously looked up at the sky. Boom! Following the horrible sound of thunder, the frightening roar of the sky and endless dark clouds, a disaster seemed to be brewing. Boom! At the next moment, dozens of terrifying lightning bolts the size of a water tank fell from the sky. The hundreds of Hydra members led by Bruce only saw the falling thunder like a mad dragon. Kaka, kaka! The endless thunderbolts danced like a silver snake. The light of thunder was so dazzling that it was able to pierce most people's eyes. This violent feeling frightened people hundreds of meters around the area. The voltage of more than 100,000 volts was terrifyingly dropped down at that moment. Hundreds of Hydra members died immediately due to this kind of thunder and became ash. Beep, for killing the enemy you have obtained 1 energy value. The sound of the system came out and made Bruce smile. Of course these people also provided him with energy value, after all, they were put into the same category as the Shitori by the system. With just that attack, Bruce managed to get more than 100 points of energy value. What a huge profit! Using this kind of lightning attack was too exhausting for Bruce, so he didn't use it very often. Otherwise, with the power of this lightning alone, he could wipe out all of Hydra's members within an hour. This was the strength of Bruce's control of thunder and lightning ability. As his own strength grew, the lightning he could condense would become more and more powerful. It seems that it's time to contact Stark. At this moment Bruce looked up at Iron Man, who was looking for flaws in Hydra's defense system. To ensure the success of his plan, Iron Man must be the first to enter Hydra's secret base. Everything was proceeding according to Bruce's expectations so far. He was looking like a true mastermind in the shadows already. As Bruce was about to leave, Iron Man and Captain America both saw the lightning kill the Hydra agents, making them shocked and finding it somewhat unbelievable. Thor in particular, who saw that lightning strike as well, was standing on the ground stiffly holding his hammer. What was going on? Did he accidentally summon thunder and lightning? Chapter 97, Plan. Thor, when did you become so powerful? Iron Man had a deep impression in regards to Thor's lightning power. He knew very well just how powerful it was. In fact, if Thor's lightning struck him, his armor wouldn't be able to bear it and he would vaporize. That was why he was even a little afraid of Thor, but he figured that it was normal for him to have such a feeling. Meanwhile, the intercoms of the Avengers were connected to the same channel, so they knew what the others' conversation was about. The lightning they saw just now was really powerful and dreadful. Even if they were the Avengers, they were still extremely fearful of it. Although each of them had special abilities, all of their abilities had their limits. And once the limit was exceeded, they couldn't bear it. Just like the thunderbolt just now, few people could really bear it. So they all wanted to see what Thor would say. This is not my doing, even I don't know what just happened. Thor was a little puzzled, because he didn't do that just now. But if they were to assume that it was just the weather, it would be a little too unbelievable. The clouds had all converged together to deliver such a powerful lightning strike. It was obvious that there was someone behind this. Thor, the god of thunder and lightning, knew about this very well. Therefore, without any further hesitation, Thor directly flew into the sky using his hammer and appeared near Bruce. He wanted to know who caused that powerful lightning strike, and just as he landed, he saw a very familiar person standing there. There were scorched bodies surrounding this person, most of which were wearing clothes with Hydra symbols on them. Bruce, why are you here? Thor was a little shocked. But when he saw the traces of lightning around him, an unimaginable thought suddenly appeared in his head. Did Bruce do this? Bruce? Thor, what's going on? Thor, did you see Bruce? Where is he? Where is he? Is he hurt? Or is he the same as Bucky? After Thor shouted out Bruce's name, every single one of the Avengers froze in place. Bruce had been missing for a long time now, and yet he suddenly appeared here without prior warning. After hearing the rest of his team members suddenly asking him questions, Thor lifted his hammer, and a trace of solemnity appeared on his face. Before going on this mission, Thor had received information that Hydra had previously controlled Winter Soldier with the help of Loki's scepter, and now that Bruce suddenly appeared here, he could possibly be controlled as well. Huh? Thor! You came just in time, give me the intercom. Bruce, who was just thinking about how to get in contact with Iron Man, was extremely happy to see Thor. How can I be sure you're not being controlled? Thor was still a little uneasy, but just from looking at Bruce's expression, he didn't seem to be under any kind of influence. No time to explain. This matter is very important. After saying that, Bruce walked up to Thor. Thor hesitated for a while, but eventually he gave Bruce the intercom. At the same time, however, he raised his vigilance. After Bruce got the intercom, he instantly said, Stark, Hydra's weakest point is at the southeast corner. You can break through from there and destroy their defense system. After hearing Bruce's words, Iron Man spaced out for a moment, before taking action immediately. Meanwhile, after hearing Bruce's voice themselves, everyone believed that Bruce was truly not under any sort of control. This belief was further strengthened when Iron Man really broke through Hydra's defense system by following Bruce's orders. With the breakthrough of the defense system, Iron Man immediately entered the base. Bruce returned the intercom to Thor, looked at him and said, "Don't be stunned. Hurry up and move." Thor looked at Bruce in amazement, because he could clearly feel how powerful Bruce was at present. What the hell is going on? Why can you control the power of lightning? Now, Thor was in a huge doubt. The power of controlling Thunderbolt was his unique ability. I think it might be because of the Loki scepter. Hydra used it in an experiment. However, an accident occurred during the experiment, and then I found that my ability became stronger. Let's take action first, I'll explain the rest later. After saying that, Bruce disappeared directly from Thor's side. In fact, when contacting Avengers Base, Bruce had already thought how to explain why he disappeared all of a sudden, and he could also reveal his abilities to them, bit by bit. He would just contribute all of this to Loki's scepter. Only in this way, everything about his strength could be explained. Loki's scepter's power was from the mind gem, and it was so powerful. It was totally reasonable to use the power of scepter to create a stronger Bruce. Anyway, Bruce had found a perfect answer to all these questions. Now the most important thing for Bruce was to kill Hydra's members, so that he could get a lot of energy value from this battle. Only in this way could he download more powerful abilities. As to the download targets, Bruce already had a rough idea. For him, suitable abilities were better than stronger abilities, so that he could remove some of his shortcomings. The Avengers also took action immediately after a short break in concentration because of him. No matter how many questions they had in their mind, the most important thing at present was to destroy Hydra's base. But no one knew that there was a person waiting for Iron Man for a long time after he entered the Hydra base. In the dark, a serious look appeared on Scarlet Witch's face. She was looking at Iron Man, who was not far away. This is the person Mr. Bruce was talking about. She looked at Iron Man, having confirmed his identity. At this moment, she directly turned into an afterimage and disappeared in place. Iron Man, who had just taken off the steel battle suit, was extremely vulnerable in the Scarlet Witch's eyes. At this time, Scarlet Witch suddenly appeared behind him, which Iron Man did not notice. Buzz! Scarlet Witch raised her hand, and a series of red magic balls instantly invaded Iron Man's mind. The next moment, Scarlet Witch disappeared. She had completed the first phase of her job. At the same time, Iron Man had seen the plot in Avengers: Age of Ultron, in which all of the Avengers were dead. Even the vibranium shield broke in half. Iron Man saw the death of all the Avengers, and soon after, he regained his consciousness. Everything around him had not changed, but Iron Man looked pale. In the future, they would seem to meet opponents that could destroy the Avengers in their entirety. But now that he saw what would happen, he had to ensure that he did everything he could to prevent that. And so, a plan began to form in his head. Chapter 98, Hydra's Distribution. Of course, only he knew this plan, and only he could do it. After this, Iron Man went to the command center, ready to directly destroy the defense system of the Hydra base, so that other Avengers could enter as well. Meanwhile, outside the base, the Avengers were still fighting. Bruce had a couple of different types of abilities, making it very easy for him to kill Hydra's members without breaking a sweat. Although Hydra trusted him very much at present, Bruce didn't have a guilty conscience in the slightest. All he did was for the purpose of developing the plot faster. This was all inevitable, and as he continued to kill, the energy value he got became more and more. He was extremely fast and extremely powerful as well, making it quite easy for him to gain energy value from these weak agents. As for the other Avengers, after Iron Man destroyed the defense system, they also entered the base. At this time, Baron Strucker and Dr. List had also discovered Bruce's behavior, which was also part of Bruce's plan. They understood exactly what happened, which enraged them even more. Damn! That Bruce has hidden himself quite deeply. Strucker was furious, but he could do nothing about it. At this point, Hydra's destruction was only a matter of time. If someone was to blame, it could only be himself for leading a wolf into his own house. What about the twins? Have them act. Strucker seemed to think of something and immediately ordered his subordinates. Dr. List, the person who created Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, just stood there and said nothing. Originally, their creation had been his biggest achievement, but now, that achievement had been taken away from him. They have disappeared. It seems that they have been manipulated by that traitor, Bruce, said List. This was what he found the most unacceptable. The twins that he had raised for years had been taken over by Bruce in under a month. Hydra was truly the only loser in this battle of theirs so far. After hearing what Dr. List had said, Strucker was shocked. All of this is Bruce's conspiracy. He was so furious that he couldn't even bring himself to believe this fact. After so many years, Hydra had not only recovered to what it was, but had even become stronger than ever before. However, Pierce's death, coupled with Bruce's devious plans, had turned their years of hard work to nothing. This would definitely make anyone angry. Mr. Strucker, are you talking about me? At this time, Bruce appeared at the command center. He was standing there with a calm look on his face, as if everything that was happening at present had nothing to do with him. And behind him, Black Widow, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man and the others all just stood there. Hawkeye had already drawn his bow. As long as they made any abnormal actions, he would immediately shoot. Hulk, on the other hand, had already left. It was not easy for him to control himself, so he decided to leave this place a bit earlier, which was why he was not with Black Widow. "It's you betrayed us," Strucker said, looking at Bruce with a strong killing intent in his eyes. He hated Bruce so much, but he could not do anything at the moment. "All of you are too naive." After Bruce finished his speaking, he made his move and killed everyone present, excluding those two of course. Once again he gained some energy values, and only Strucker and Dr. List were left alive at this point. Those two were top dogs in Hydra and were not supposed to be killed so easily. "Have we finished our task?" Captain America glanced at the people around him, and the others nodded in agreement. They couldn't believe that the process of destroying Hydra this time would be so easy. It went smoothly, almost without any accidents. "It's all because of Bruce," Black Widow said. She was very curious and there seemed to be a lot of questions on her mind right now, but she decided not to ask right now. "Find Loki's scepter, and leave the other matters to Fury," Captain America gave an order, before glancing at Bruce. Black Widow was not the only one curious, the others also had many questions they wanted to ask. The only reason they all held in their curiosities was because of their present circumstances. Regardless of anything else, however, the one thing that the Avengers could all be sure of was that Bruce was on their side. Soon afterwards, Loki's scepter was found. This time around, they didn't hand it over to anyone and kept it themselves. After all, they were afraid of repeating the same mistake, and would ensure that this time it doesn't happen. But no one noticed that there was a hint of red magic on the scepter. Although it only flashed for an instant, it did appear. After they were finished, the Avengers directly left for the helicopter. Banner had gone out of his Hulk form, as there was no need for it at the moment. Bruce also came aboard the helicopter with the rest of them and left Hydra's base. Not too far away, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were standing in a dark area, observing everything. This time around, the Avengers didn't even discover the existence of the twins, much less develop them. "Wanda, aren't we going to follow them?" Quicksilver looked at Bruce and then said to Scarlet Witch. "Mr. Bruce has already told us his plan, we just need to follow it." "Let's go," Scarlet Witch said. Bruce had already explained what he wanted them to do. He asked them to go to a certain place, and after a few days passed, a robot would come look for them. It was part of Bruce's plan, and what the Scarlet Witch needed to do was to perform her role in Bruce's plan to the best of her ability. Quicksilver nodded. Because of Bruce, they could have meaning in their lives. Subsequently, the two left. As for their safety, Bruce didn't need to worry, after all, he didn't make them do all of that training for nothing. Meanwhile, Hydra had officially been wiped off the face of the earth. On the plane, Bruce sat with the Avengers. The battle had been a great success, to the point that it exceeded their expectations. After a short break, Captain America, Thor, and the others all looked at Bruce. "Why do you have the ability to use lightning, and why did you appear at the Hydra base?" Thor asked directly, and Fury also came to Bruce's side at that point. He wanted to know the answer Bruce had for this, and in detail. Bruce, on the other hand, had already prepared his answers for all of the questions they had, so he didn't mind. Everyone present was well aware about Hydra's means, and their main concern was that he was a traitor in their mix, placed by Hydra. "Actually, you probably know that Loki's scepter is a very powerful weapon already." Bruce was not in a hurry, and he slowly explained. Everyone nodded, as they roughly knew about the existence of the Infinity Gems and their uses. But they were still unclear on the specifics, so they waited for him to continue. Bruce knew very well what he should say. And he was sure that even though Fury was the king of spies, he wouldn't be able to find any flaws in his answers. Chapter 99, Explanation. All of this required a reasonable explanation, otherwise, no one would believe it. But more importantly, Bruce had to obtain the trust of the Avengers in order for his schemes to work. When Bruce mentioned Loki's scepter, everyone nodded in response. They already knew that Loki's scepter had great power, they just didn't know the details. In his following explanations, Bruce shifted almost all of his responsibilities to Loki's scepter. That day, a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. came up to me at Avengers Base. He said that the top brass had an important mission for me, and although I was on alert, I didn't give it too much thought. After that, I saw Pierce, and then I passed out. Bruce began explaining everything from the day he disappeared. At that time, Pierce didn't want others to find out that he was the head of Hydra, so very few people knew that he had asked Bruce to leave. Even the S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury didn't know that. And this had become Bruce's perfect excuse. Bruce continued to explain, saying that he was already in the base of Hydra when he woke up. At that time, Hydra had been hypnotizing him, and even had attempted to control his mind. They even used Loki's scepter, but in the end, they failed. He then found out that he was inside of Hydra's base, and began plotting by pretending to be controlled by them. After hearing Bruce's explanation, everyone nodded. They all knew that Loki's scepter was capable of controlling other people's minds, they had even seen it firsthand. They had also previously seen that Bruce was immune to this type of control, so everything he said was logical. Seeing their expressions, Bruce knew that they had begun to believe him. Next, Bruce went on to say that Hydra began to use Loki's scepter for experiments after he pretended to be under control. During these experiments, many people were used as guinea pigs, and eventually died because they were incapable of bearing the scepter's power. He, however, had endured many experiments because of his special constitution, and survived all of them as they didn't do him any harm. On the contrary, instead of harming him, these experiments actually allowed Bruce to obtain more powerful abilities. When I found this out, I knew that I had obtained the ability to resist and fight against Hydra. Bruce looked at the crowd with a solemn expression. There were almost no flaws in his explanations. And sure enough, when the Avengers heard about what happened to Bruce, they showed sympathy for him. They knew Hydra's cruelty very well. Bruce may have said all of this like it was nothing, but they knew that Bruce must have endured a lot. That is to say, you used these abilities to reveal Hydra's location to us so that we could strike back. But why didn't you reveal your identity? The captain remembered something, and asked Bruce. Iron Man and Banner nodded in response to his question. If Bruce had revealed his identity to them when he had passed the location, they would have immediately taken action. Even Fury looked at Bruce this time, as he also wanted to know how Bruce would explain this. If I revealed my identity, would you have believed me? He didn't explain anything and just asked in return with a smile on his face. After hearing that, everyone present looked a little bit awkward. Bruce had disappeared for a long time, and now that he suddenly appeared in Hydra's base, to say that they would not be suspicious of him would be a lie. He suddenly disappeared and suddenly appeared again. Even someone like Fury, who hated Hydra the most, would think it over and over again. He wouldn't muster the Avengers as quickly as he had done. On the contrary, only this type of message without a name could let them risk it all and strike. After saying that, Bruce had almost gained the trust of everyone present. During his explanation, he even told them about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in order for them to have no doubts about him at all. After all, the best lies always have some truth in them. But Stucker's words differ from what you have said. He says that you were a member of Hydra, and that he doesn't know why you betrayed him. Hill stood on one side. She had interrogated Strucker before, but the only thing that he said was this. No matter what methods she used, Strucker kept his mouth shut after that. After hearing Hill's words, Bruce displayed a look of slight shock. I didn't expect that Strucker trusted me so much, it seems that I've really let him down. Then, Bruce stood up and said, so he says that I'm a member of Hydra and that I betrayed the organization, and you believe him over me? When Bruce said this, it was obvious that he was not very happy, and this made everyone present feel embarrassed. In their eyes, Bruce had suffered so much, but they were still suspicious of him. Even if it was them in this situation, they would also be annoyed. Hawkeye could relate to Bruce the most, as after all, he had also been controlled before. Bruce, we didn't mean it that way. Don't get so angry. Black Widow stood up and glanced at Hill, indicating that she shouldn't say anything else. Hill was very embarrassed as well, and glanced at Fury. They recalled the hate Strucker had for Bruce when they interrogated him. So how could Bruce be a member of Hydra? What's more, Hydra had paid such a heavy price and even their most important base had been destroyed alongside their elite members. Is Strucker just trying to turn us against Bruce? That was very stupid, wasn't it? Well, Bruce, I believe you. Iron Man spoke first, expressing his opinion. Me too. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Banner, and Captain America all stood up. After all, Bruce was the one who fought with them shoulder to shoulder in this event, as well as multiple others. If they couldn't even trust their comrade in arms, how could they be superheroes, much less the Avengers? Especially Captain America, he understood Bruce. His former comrade Bucky was in the same situation as Bruce. At this point, he was already on Bruce's side. Fury and Hill also stopped doubting him. Bruce had contributed the most in Hydra's destruction, and if they continued doubting him, they would just be paranoid. With this, Bruce won everyone's trust. It was all thanks to Scepter that Loki left behind, otherwise, Bruce would really be stumped with how to explain everything. I think it's time to celebrate Hydra's destruction, it'll be my treat. Iron Man said. A burst of cheers rang out after that, excited to finally relax. Bruce, on the other hand, slowly sat down, with his eyes fixed on Banner. Chapter 100, New Function. And just as Bruce was staring at Dr. Banner, the voice of the system rang out in his head. Beep, congratulations, you have successfully begun the plot of Avengers, Age of Ultron. Beep, congratulations, you have obtained a new system function, upgrading defective ability. After hearing the system's voice, Bruce's expression slightly changed. Upgrading defective ability? The next moment, information about the system's new function directly appeared in his head. The so-called new function of upgrading defective ability, in fact, could perfect the defective abilities. For example, Bruce had downloaded the high-speed movement ability from Quicksilver, but as Quicksilver was not at his full potential at that point, the ability was defective and severely weaker than it was supposed to be. The only way for Bruce to obtain the perfect version was to wait for Quicksilver to hone himself, otherwise he would have to deal with the weaker version. However, now, the new function he had just obtained would solve this problem. This was a very useful function for Bruce, because it meant that as long as he wanted to, he could directly perfect all of the defective abilities he downloaded. Of course, the premise to that was that he had enough energy value. Other than that, Bruce was also very satisfied with the price for using the new function. It was not cheap by any means, but the necessary energy value for perfecting the abilities would never be more than the cost for downloading them. For example, when Bruce downloaded Quicksilver's high-speed movement before, he needed 3,000 points of energy value even if it was defective. However, once Quicksilver himself perfected the ability, the amount of energy value he would need to download it would be more than 10,000 points. That meant that Bruce would need to use another 7,000 points or more to perfect the ability, which was an issue for him at the moment. However, after obtaining this new function, he wouldn't have to pay more than 3,000 to perfect the ability, which decreased the price by a large margin. This function was definitely of great help to Bruce. Getting energy value in the first place was definitely difficult, much the thousands upon thousands that he would need. With that said, this function would save him a lot of time, and more importantly, a lot of energy value. It truly was just like he had thought it would be. As he progressed further and further into the plot, the system's functions would become more abundant and useful to him. As he thought of this, he looked at the status of his body and the energy value he had just obtained. Name, Bruce Lite. Ability, Demigod Body, God's Bloodline, Godly Fighting Ability, Control of Thunder and Lightning, Spider Telepathy, Extremis Virus, Body and Shield as 1. Warehouse, Super Vibranium Shield, Mark Armor. Balance, $200 million. Energy value, 6,500 points. Bruce had already used 3,000 points of energy value previously when he downloaded Quicksilver's ability. For finishing his task, he gained 5,000 points, coupled with his slaughter of Hydra members, he gained another 1,000 points, putting him at the 6,500 points of energy value that he was at now. With the amount of energy value he had now, he was fully capable of downloading Hulk's ability, which he had wanted for a long time. The Hulk had multiple abilities, but the one he wanted the most was his bodily ability. The Hulk's body was so powerful that it was nigh indestructible, and could easily be compared to a divine body. It was so powerful that even Thor could not destroy it. Although at present Bruce also had a body in the divine ranks, by comparison, he was not up to par. If he could download another bodily ability that was in the divine ranks, and even stronger than his present one, he would be extremely terrifying once he integrated both of them. With that said, Bruce had to continue downloading abilities. This was the only way for him to continuously enhance his strength at a rapid pace. He was decently far into the plot at the moment, and after Avengers, Age of Ultron, he would be very close to Avengers, Infinity War. During that plot, Bruce would be fighting against Thanos, who was a lot stronger than the Hulk. And needless to say, without having terrifying strength himself, it would be impossible to defeat Thanos. First, I'll download Banner's ability, and then I'll perfect and upgrade Quicksilver's high-speed movement ability. It would take them a few hours to return to New York, so he definitely had enough time to do what he wanted to do. Without any hesitation, Bruce stood up and walked over to Dr. Banner's side, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. "I didn't expect that you would come back." After hearing Bruce's words, Banner's face revealed a trace of awkwardness. Indeed, it was hard for him to control himself after transforming into the Hulk. If it was not for the Avengers' belief in him, he would not appear again. "Yeah, I didn't expect that myself," Banner said, with a look of disappointment. He should have been a physicist enjoying great prestige in the world and a real genius. But after that incident, he instead became a horrifying monster. A monster that even he was afraid of. Looking at him, Bruce immediately reached out his hand and patted Banner on the shoulder. "Doctor, I also trust you very much." Everyone present looked back at Bruce, while Banner stared at him in disbelief. "Thank you, Bruce." Bruce's words were undoubtedly of great importance for him. He needed the trust of people, especially ones he called comrades. However, Banner didn't know that when Bruce touched his body, his abilities were clearly displayed in front of him. Name, Bruce Banner. Identity, Hulk, Green Giant, Physics Master. Abilities, Hulk's Wrath, Energy Value, 10,000, Hulk's Strength, Energy Value, 30,000, Hulk's Body, Energy Value, 3,000, Regeneration, 1,000 GB. All of Hulk's abilities were intact, and didn't need time to be perfected. When Bruce saw Hulk's information, he immediately decided what he needed to download. Beep, connection successful. Beep, downloading Hulk's body ability requires 3,000 points of energy value. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. Of course, there was no need to hesitate. This was a huge improvement for him. Beep, download complete. Beep, congratulations, you have obtained the ability Hulk's body. As soon as the voice of the system came, Bruce felt his body undergoing a massive change again. It was a kind of indestructible and inexplicable power. This kind of power flooded inside his body, inside his every cell, like a raging river. That kind of power was so potent that his body felt the need to metamorphose once again. He felt as if he underwent a rebirth. If his former body was steel, then his new body was alloy. He was powerful to a terrifying degree. And now that he possessed such power, he could move at an even faster speed. With this change, Bruce reached an incredible state. Even if a missile directly struck him, he would be fine. This was just how powerful he had become, and how much he managed to improve. His two bodily abilities directly supported each other, giving him this newfound power despite not integrating them yet. Moreover, an important thing to note for Bruce was that despite possessing Hulk's bodily ability, he didn't need to transform into another form to use that power. Bruce's body could compare itself to the Hulk's body now, without even integrating his two abilities. Having this kind of power, Bruce felt as though he was capable of running through anything, in every sense of the word. This marks the end of part 13 of the story Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.